going to mix up a color that represents this dark area, and I'm going to put that in the places that I see that dark area. And they're not even going to be connected to each other. So let's check it out. I'm mixing a little bit of ultramarine blue, a little bit of alizarin crimson, and sap green. And paper towel just to dab off the extra solvent. And I have terpenoid in here and a little bit of walnut oil just to, if I need to make the painting, the paint go a little more smooth on the canvas. I like putting red in my green colors, so you're going to always see a little more red. So here's this shape back here, and I'm going to just go right in and start painting it this dark blue color right back in here. I'm going to paint around. I'm going to mix up some more blue and sap green. And I'm not putting the paint on too thick. I never start with really thick paint. And that is not a rule, that's just a personal preference. So I'm just drawing in this abstract shape here. To me, it looks abstract. And of course, this is what's called a negative space, even though it's the tree. Now, I'm not even going to do the light part of the tree. I'm just going to stick to the areas that are a little bit on the dark side. And I put a lot of alizarin crimson into my dark areas because I think it adds a rich feeling, a rich kind of tone to the dark parts of the painting. There's some dark over here, so I'm going to put that in right where I see it. Some dark, little dark shape in the shrubbery towards the left hand side. And I'm really just kind of freewheeling it. I'm just looking at the photograph and not thinking about anything but that shape of dark color and where it looks like it goes in the other shapes that I drew when I first started. And I'm just sort of following this dark area up here. And there's a little bit of it down here. And I'm not even worried that it's not the perfect green color, which this looks like it has a little green in it. And this totally looks abstract. I mean, it's just an abstract painting. This is also, and what's so important, this is also a great way to stay loose. That's what's so important about working with shapes. Because sometimes when we go in and draw every little shape out, every little detail, every little window, every little stone, and we start out with that drawing, we end up not wanting to paint over the drawing. And oil painting is all about layers, and you're always starting with loose, broad strokes. If you want to keep your painting loose and free looking. Not everybody does. Some people do like really detailed art, and that's fine. Detailed paintings are beautiful as well. I'm going to put block in. Blocking in is when we cover the whole canvas with paint. I'm going to block in this house in the back, this villa-looking kind of structure, and I'm going to mix up a little bit of sky blue and alizarin crimson because I kind of want to make it a little purpley looking and some of this pinky peach color. It's actually called flesh tone. So I'm going to put that whole shape in this color. Now we definitely have a building in the foreground, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. Now that I have this color on my palette, there's some shadow shapes down here, and I think I'm going to just put them in. Let's go back and work on that for a second. Okay, now I'm going to go down here and throw in some of these shadow, little abstract kind of pointy shadow shapes. And then there's a shape that comes out here, like so. And when I use my brush, I don't just go like this, and I'm always holding it from the back. I use the side of the brush, the front of the brush. Okay, so there's kind of a basic, and look at how the edge, I'm keeping the edges really very, very soft. I'm not making any really hard edges. There's also a little bit of this purple color right here. So I'm just painting the purple shape. I know it happens to be a shape that makes up the side of that little house little house ledge part that's peeking out. But I'm going to take that purpley blue color and just paint the shape of what I see. And this is a little bit in the purple color as well, up here. And a shadow coming down the wall here. Now I'm going to go in and just soften some of all of this up. Okay, now I'm going to switch to a lighter green color that I'm seeing here. Or actually, I'm going to use the middle green tone. So I'm going to mix up a little bit of yellow ochre, some cerulean blue, and see what kind of green I can get out of that. Maybe that's a little bit too, has a little bit too much yellow ochre in it. So let's try it. And I think I'm getting a little bit closer. Okay. Let's put a little more yellow in it. Alrighty, so here we go. We're going to do the mid-tone of that shrub. And I know it has a little more green in it, but I'm not worried about that right now. All I really care about are the values. Actually, I'm going to make it a little bit darker. And then we have this shrubbery in the front that looks pretty dark green down here. It's always scary when the painting gets to this point because you don't know where you're going. Everything's very scary looking. It's very abstract. And you're thinking, oh my God, this is never going to actually amount to anything. And sometimes you'd be surprised, end up surprising yourself. Now I'm going to move to the back tree area. In fact, I'm going to just put this right here for now instead of holding it. I'm going to move back up here. And right now I think I might have a little bit too much solvent on my brush. So I'm going to wipe some of that solvent off. You don't want too much turpenoid on your brush. So I'm just going to mix up kind of a lighter, more blue-green for that background, that back tree. And you'd be surprised how blue-green that color really is. And I'm just going to put that whole, instead of doing all the little dabs of dark that are in there, just put that whole color And I'm not going to do this little thing sticking out. And now I'm going to put a little bit of the brighter yellow here. That's way too bright, so let me knock that down. Now, notice how I can mix my green right here on the canvas. I don't always have to mix over here. You can mix right on the canvas as well. And since the sun is overhead, the lightest part of this tree, this oleander, is in fact right here on the top of the shrub. Every once in a while we have to stop and clean our brushes. Now there's definitely a little house right here, and I'm going to make it a warmer color so it comes forward and stands out from the house that's behind it. So I'm going to start with some red, and that's a little bit too much red, so I'll put some brown in it. And I don't care if it's too red. I can always tone it down later, but I just like to have a bright contrast between here and here. And notice how I never even drew it in when I started. And that house comes down, actually right about, comes down about here, underneath that shrub. And the purpley house in the back, because you know what, you can make it any color you want. As long as the warm color is, the easiest thing to do is to make sure the warm color is the house in the front towards you. Okay, so right now, here's our photo. Whoops. Here's our photo, and here's a basic shape painting. All I have to do now is finish the painting. It sounds easy, but that's always the fun part and the hard part. But if you get this far, you're in such a successful place to keep painting from, because you've got all of your basics down. Now all we have to do is just go in and nuance all the little nooks and crannies of making this painting come to life. Okay, so I'm just going to take a breather and look at my painting from a distance in my photo, and then come back and work on it in more detail.